Hey, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Ethan.
I watched the first half of Killers of the Flower Moon.
I watched the second half of Killers of the Flower Moon.
And this is the other half.
Jaunty.
I know. It's so happy, this movie.
Yeah, it's such a blast.
Yeah.
Such a fun movie.
It's a
Not
movie-
about a bunch of massacre of a bunch of people that gets underreported.
Yeah. And yeah, it's, boy, what a sad film this was.
But you know what? Pretty good.
Fucking
Pretty
amazing.
good. So people
you
people listen to the last episode.
Yeah, you saw Maestro, and
saw
you're
Maestro,
like,
and I was
like Oscar movies?
do I like Oscar movies? I watched this. I'm like, nah, movies are good, dude.
And you
Movies
watched
are
the
good.
second
I
half
watched
of it,
second
too.
half.
Yeah.
And I was literally in it within the first 10 minutes.
No shit.
I was like, all right, I want to see where this goes. Let's see.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
Because that's a filmmaker, baby.
It's
that's
funny-
a fucking filmmaker.
That's fucking Scorsese right there. He goes out, he produces bullshit like Maestro, and then he directs shit like this.
Yeah. Whatever, I'll pay you to make your fucking movie.
Yeah.
Have fun. It won't make any money, but Netflix will pay us, so whatever.
Yeah. This movie fucking rocks so goddamn hard. Like,
Yeah.
incredible film already. Yeah, we should probably start doing this from now on. Just like, from the beginning, watch this movie. It's really good. It is
If you want to stop the podcast, go watch this one.
stop the
Come back.
podcast, take a couple days, go watch the movie, come back and listen to us.
Yeah. It is a doozy.
But it really, and I obviously only saw the first half, it really does fly by though. Like the
I
pacing
know.
in this movie.
Same. I watched basically
Absolutely.
a whole movie.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a whole movie.
It really doesn't. It
No.
really, by the time I was done with the other thing too is like, I get engrossed. It's much harder to watch a movie like this first half because it's like, you get engrossed and then I get nervous that I'm going to like overwatch.
Yeah, so you keep having to stop.
Yeah, I kept having to I would get in the trance of the film and then have to pull myself
That's
out.
a good place to be in, though.
It is.
Instead of actually pausing and be like, when can I be released?
When is it done?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was not the case here. Fucking amazing. Go watch it. Really, really good film. All right, let's talk about
end of the
this fucking
podcast.
movie.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, end of the podcast. We're done. Good
We're
night,
done.
everybody.
Just go watch it. It's good.
No. Movie. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this movie.
So, do you have any knowledge about this event prior to this movie?
No, I didn't.
Me either.
But then, okay, I did know prior to watching the movie, but just from the press about what this movie is about, basically.
Right. I think it's very similar to the Tulsa Massacre.
They
a lot of comparisons to that in the movie itself.
In the movie itself, they compare it. Yes.
And I think they're also trying to go through the same sort of thing where it's like most people probably didn't hear about this horrific thing that happened
Yeah.
in American history.
Yeah.
That happened to a minority group,
Yeah.
similar to Tulsa. Let's shine some light on it and see kind of what's going on with it.
Yeah.
And this was based on a book
Yes.
that was done by a journalist, I believe, was published in 2005 or something, somewhat
Kind of-
recently.
I apparently, Scorsese read the book and was like, I have to adapt this into a movie. Like, he immediately was like, I need to make this into something. And
Wild.
he read the book and then he spent basically from that time up until when he started production, talking with Osage communities to make sure that they were behind this movie 100%, because obviously he doesn't want to make it incorrectly or falsely represent, the people that this was, about,
the people who suffered
Just the
greatly
people who
from this.
suffered. Yeah. So it's that's really cool that he actually made an effort to I know there's a lot of talk of oh, why do we have a white guy talking about this movie about, Native people, but it's they were part of the production. They were part of they hire actual Native people to play the natives.
There
in this
is
movie.
also something to be said about someone with the powerhouse prestige of Martin Scorsese coming in.
Yeah.
It's people are more likely to watch it,
That is true.
Unfortunately.
But he
that's
also
how it
does
goes.
a really good job with the material
Yeah.
as well. Honestly, it's, because everyone's oh man, this fucking Scorsese, all he does is gangster movies. And it's this is him doing a gangster movie, but not making the gangsters look fun or enjoyable. They are fucking unrepentant monsters the entire film.
Yeah, it's true. And it is feel like a mob movie, but the mob movie is very much about the family aspect of the mob.
Yeah,
more
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and how that can be toxic.
Yeah.
I feel like so. I mean, I've not seen, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a Scorsese mob movie. Now I think about it.
You never saw the Casino. Never saw Wolf of Wall Street's kind of a mob movie.
I guess I
but
saw
not
Wolf of Wall
exactly.
Street. That's not really a mob movie at all.
Yeah, but it's in the same it's
It's
always
the
in
same vein, but I feel
talk,
like I have
yeah.
not seen
Goodfellas.
I didn't see any of those.
Yeah.
I've only seen Hugo. All the fun movies.
If you see Hugo and then you see the Killers of Flower Moon, you can see the comparisons.
That's kind of exactly. Let me tell you, George Mill. mob boss.
No,
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
fucking stab that moon right in the eye. Let me tell you.
That is the flower moon right there.
He fucking killed it.
Yeah, killed that shit. Yeah. So yeah, from the beginning, fucking amazing. A lot of work and effort was put into this. Apparently, also like they were gonna make a movie about a private investigator who came to investigate the crimes, and that was originally going to be like the story.
So that's what the book is about.
Yes.
So the book, from what I was reading some of the changes, and it seems like the book was more of a whodunit type of situation. But they changed that and focused more on two people. They focused on Mollie and Ernest.
Yes. And that was a pretty late stage decision. The entire time they were going to just focus on the I believe even what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be playing that private investigator.
FBI guy. The guy who's not even near half the movie.
No, he isn't.
He doesn't appear.
There was a private
half.
investigator in my half the movie, and I was like, oh, is this the guy that the movie's supposed to be about? And then he fucking like dies.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was like, I guess not. But yeah, so like originally that was the movie's going to be about, and then the pandemic.
Well, no, it's not a private investigator. Let me get it straight. It's
Sorry.
the birth of the FBI is what the original thing was about, because it's like one of the first cases the FBI came about.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that was originally what the premise was going to be, and then the pandemic happened, and then there was a lot of talk between Scorsese and DiCaprio, and they were like, you know what, like that's a story we could tell, but like I think the really interesting part of this is like the story between Mollie and Ernest, and so
it is a very interesting story.
It really is, but like that sort of like late stage decision making to essentially taking the story and like pulling it inside out. I don't know, man, like that's such a brave thing to do, and like I think they're kind of right. Like I do think like that's a really like obviously that other story like has a place and it probably could have been very interesting, but like
it's already written in a book. You can go read it. You know?
Getting this sort of like perspective of like why Ernest did what he did and like where like how Mollie feels about all this. Like what a shame this movie would have been if Mollie would have been a much smaller character in it. You know what I mean? Because I think, oh my God, yeah, like Lily Gladstone, that's her name, right? I believe.
I believe so.
She's
fucking.
Oh my God. Oh my! Give her the award already. She's been sweeping. She deserves it.
She's sweeping it up. She got that Swiffer. She's running around sweeping them all up.
I'll admit I was a little skeptical. Like I was like, I don't think she's gonna be that. I mean, I think she's gonna be good. I don't know how good she's gonna be. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, dude.
She is insane in this movie. She's so good. She's so quiet. But like, god damn, she's fucking powerful. Like, there's something,
dude,
something so good. And honestly, she's great. Pretty much everyone in this movie is really good too.
They're all bangers.
What's his name? De Niro.
Robert De Niro.
De Niro in this movie is like weirdly unrecognizable. Like, he just put on like those little glasses in that hair, and I'm like, yeah, he's probably like,
I don't know. He's still
for me.
He read as him for a while, but he does disappear in the role.
He's
eventually.
So good in this.
I think he's
too.
the hardest one to disappear into the role.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's fucking Robert De Niro.
He's Robert
Look
De Niro.
at him.
Yeah.
He only can disappear if he's in Bloody Mama. That's the only way I can't recognize him. And he's like, and he's super young.
But he's so good in this, playing like. He's essentially just playing like the worst kind of like white savior dude, because like the whole movie he's trying to act like he's on the side of the Osage.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, it kind of reminds me a bit of like Get Out a bit, where it's like you know you have all these white people who try to act like they're allies, but really they're and
he's outright like
he's
evil.
Truly fucking awful. DiCaprio's pretty good in it too, but like I really do feel like he's punching above his. Everyone else is just absolutely killing it, and DiCaprio's there just sort of playing like. I'm Ernest.
I don't know. I feel like he does a really great job on this too, to be honest. I think he's kind of an underrated part, because he kind of does this thing where he's clearly like not dumb.
Right.
But he
is manipulated.
But he's very easy to pull along and string along, I think.
Yeah.
But he also plays where it's just like he is dumb, but also not at the same time.
Yeah.
But easily manipulated. And he plays that part very well, very convincingly. Like, oh yeah, I know people like that who are like, I'll hear one thing from one person and I'll be totally down and be like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then someone else can come around and be like, well, that's gonna do this, and you don't want that to happen, right? And you're
right.
Like, well, I don't, so I guess I won't do that.
It does kind of remind me a bit of well, you saw but you did see speaking of Scorsese movies, you saw The Irishman.
That's true. That you're right. That's the only mob movie I've seen.
And this is a little bit similar to that, where it's like following a guy who like just like he ends up destroying his life essentially, and like throwing away people that he actually like cares about and loves, in the service of people who don't really care that much about him and only want to manipulate him.
Yeah,
similar to like how The Irishman was about like that the Irishman, the guy that like ends up fucking killing his best friend because
Spoilers.
they tell him what to do. So yeah, I don't know. But I think this is a better movie.
Really? You think it's better than Irishman?
I think it's better than Irishman. I think just like Irishman was really good. I feel like the last hour of The Irishman was like when it actually like started singing. This movie all the way through.
Okay.
Fucking
Good to know.
incredible. Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Starting with the opening.
All right. Let's hear that opening.
Movie opens. It's a ceremony. And it's the bunch of like the Osage people, and it's a big ceremony. They're burying a pipe person. They're mourning the idea that their future children will not know their ways or their language. They'll be taught the ways of white men. Oof. And they'll be taught, the language of white men, and they will forget what it's like to be, part of their tribe. And they go out and they bury this pipe, and then as they're burying it, all of a sudden, oil.
Oh, that's a Beverly Hillbilly shit right there. I'm just kidding.
And it's like, it's so like this moment, it's like so meditative and quiet, and it's like it feels so like holy and like sad, and then oil strikes, and then the fucking music in this movie is so goddamn good.
The humor, like that shit is funny.
Yeah,
like that is a funny way to do something like that. Like, clearly doesn't, and in a weird way, you'd be like, oh, that'll undercut like the solemnness of it, but somehow it works.
It 100% works, yeah, because then it's like you're like in the movie, you understand where this movie's going now, because it's like, it happens, but it's also shot in this interesting way where it's like it feels like a curse almost. It almost feels like this is going to be your salvation, because what this is they say like the Osage have become the richest people per capita on earth. We see the Osage wearing fancy clothes, driving cars, they go to college, they essentially enter white society with wealth, so they're able to now like fight back against their oppression. But it is a curse, as we soon can see, because once white people see that there's people of color who have money. They're going to manipulate them.
This is even more closer to Tulsa than I
thought. 100%.
Because I didn't really understand the whole wealth thing as much. Like, I didn't realize that they're so wealthy, but I did realize, I'm like, damn, these people all got servants. What's going on?
Yes, they have chauffeurs. They have become rich. But the thing is, and this is the annoying thing, is like white people see this and go like, well, they didn't earn that money, so I need to take it away from them. And it's
tell white people that for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. So then we meet Ernest. He arrives home from the war, and he's looking. He's when he arrives, he sees all these people working in oil fields, and he goes to his uncle's house, King. Played by Robert De Niro. Oh, I call him King.
All right, well, we'll do some stuff. Hale, I think is his name. Actually.
Hale, I think, yeah. And he's driven by
Hail to the King, baby.
Hail to the King, baby. He's driven by a man named Henry, and you do not see him in your house.
Okay, good. I was like, oh my god, I missed Henry.
No, he's driven by Henry, a native, an Osage, and he's like, hey, whose land is this? And he's like, it's my land. And he drives him through the oil field. And then he arrives at King's place, and King's place is not an oil field. He's not an oil, King says. He says, the oil is going to dry up one of these days. I'm not in oil. I'm in cattle. I'm a cattle man. And it's this idea too. And this movie, so I like to watch my half of the movie twice. Once just so I can like get the vibe, and the second half second time so I can like write down the notes. And it's like this guy sees the world as cattle. Like, he sees the Osage as cattle. Like, he's, he sees them as a means to get money, not necessarily as like, a way of like, he doesn't see them as like friends or as human beings. He sees them as a means of like getting money out of them, basically. In fact, he says right out the bat, he says,
they were sick people. They were kindly people, big-hearted people, but they're sickly.
And as there's also a wasting disease that's going around. Native people wasting away.
Oh, I don't really get that, because Mollie has diabetes.
She does have diabetes. But there's wasting illness has been an issue with some of the people here. What that is more likely than not, they're being poisoned. They're being given like bad like whiskey or moonshine, and they're wasting away by being like poisoned over time. And you're right, Mollie has diabetes and is being given insulin shots, but like, can you trust what's in the shots? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
It's like who's administering the shots? Who's giving them to you? It's very scary. Yes. Anyway. So then Ernest mentions that he saw more people die of the flu in war than die of like actual like war causes.
That was around the time of the Spanish flu, which did kill a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sick people. And then he also says that his gut burst, and so he can't do manual labor. So,
Convenient. No, I'm just kidding.
right. So he comes to his uncle, and his uncle's like, "Well, since you can't do anything else, we're gonna have you drive. We're gonna have you be a driver."
Okay.
That'll be what you do. Ernest also mentions that what else? Oh, his uncle asks him. He's like, "Hey, do you like women?" And he's like, "Of course I like women." And he's like, "Do you like red women?" And Ernest is like, "Red, white, blue, I love them all."
I'm a true American.
Yeah. And he's like, "Doesn't matter to me. I'm greedy." And he says, "I like them soft. I like soft women."
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little uncomfortable, but I guess that's how men talk back then. Sure.
Yeah. And then we meet Byron, who's Ernest's brother. He's like a redhead.
Oh yes. And he's like, "Here's your brother."
Yeah. We also learn that King is a reserve sheriff of Fairfax, so he's also the law. So if anything happens around here, that
He's the reserve sheriff. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got sway. He's got a lot of sway around here, and I love De Niro's performance here because he seems so fucking like chill about everything.
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's
cool
all
as a cucumber. Everything's
business
gonna work
as usual.
out.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, and also the way he talks, it's like, "Oh, you like women? You like red women? What do you think? What do you think about them?" And it's like he's already starting to like plant the seeds of what he wants, which I will go into eventually. King gives Ernest a book about the Osage, says that they have ownership over the land and the oil, and he says they're the finest, most beautiful people on God's earth, just after calling them sickly people, sick people. And he's mentioning the idea that like this is owned by them, like they own this stuff, and he's like they're very smart to get the ownership of that. And then after all this, after he says that the Osage are like beautiful and fine people, we see 5 Osage people die. All of them. Poisoning. We see them like bleeding out in a river. We see them just dead, basically. Ugh. And none of the deaths are investigated. We have a narration, which I believe is Lily Gladstone's doing the narration, saying like who these people are, what their names are, what age they died at, and that there was no investigation as to how they died. But we see that there is an epidemic of like violent deaths amongst like the Osage people in the area, including a woman who is just straight up murdered by a white man. We actually see this. Every other thing we see, like the aftermath, here we see her like take a baby out to her baby carriage, put the baby in the baby carriage, turn around, a man just shoots her in the stomach. She falls down dead, and then he takes the gun, puts it in her hand, and then over narration, Lily Gladstone says, this was judged as suicide. So everything else was not investigated. This was seen as suicide. Okay. And then the white guy takes the baby back into the house where he came from, which is starting to...
What's that white guy relation to that lady?
Probably a husband. Yeah, exactly. Which is already starting to like set up the idea as to what the rest of this movie is going to be about. Yeah. Mollie, we meet Mollie. And she's asking for more money for medicine because, you know, she just had like a big like surgery for her diabetes and stuff. She's trying to lay off the sugar and stuff.
Yeah, putting those croissants away. I get it.
Yeah. And the guy responsible for the money mentions how her mom is spending a lot of money. Her mom is like seemingly starting to like go, like she's like not all there. The guy who also is basically in charge of their money, also later on is revealed, is the head of the local KKK.
Ooh.
Yike-a-roni. Yike-a-roni, Uncle Scrooge. So Mollie has a sick mom and 3 sisters. She like leaves where she's like, it's not really a bank. That's the thing. It's like, it's not really a bank. It's more like, it's another way of like the white people to like hold on to the money that's not even theirs. Is like, we'll give you the money that's yours, but like we are going to hold on to it. So
it's like a weird loan process is what they kind of have going
basically
on.
And it's like only certain people who are like registered can like get the money from them, basically, even though it's their money.
Yeah,
it's really fucked up. And so outside we see all these white men trying to steal, trying to scam, trying to beg from the Osage, trying to get money from them, basically. And some of them are scammed. Some of them just give the money away to these white people because it's like, well, we got plenty of it. Why not?
At least they asked, Yeah,
that's
better
true.
than fucking killing people, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So Mollie's picked up by Ernest, who is her driver. We also meet another guy named Kelsey. He was in The Irishman. He's got like a really like strong jaw. I don't know if he comes.
Yes, the movie. Yes, I've seen him.
He's married an Osage woman, and he like leans over to Ernest and says, "Full-blooded." He He says this with pride.
Wow.
He also served in the war with Ernest. Apparently, that's how they know each other. And it's this thing of like, these women are something, or these Osage people are something to covet, something to own.
It's like they're like a commodity, or it's like, ooh, I own this.
Look what I married
They're
into.
in my family. They're rich.
Yes,
know?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So King,
Literal trophy wife.
literally a trophy wife, except for the other way around. King talks to Ernest about maybe making a pass at Mollie. He says that's a full-blooded estate right there.
How do you mean? Well, we mix these families together, and that estate money flows the right direction. It'll come to us. That's a full-blood estate, and she gets that money of the mother Lizzie. Now that's good business, that, and legal, not against the law. That's smart investment.
And so he's talking about this in a very sort of like, it's totally legal to do this, Ernest. If you make a pass at her and you marry her, and the money ends up flowing our direction, that's just good. That's just good stuff. That's just a good thing to do.
You just get the money.
Yeah, exactly. He's speaking in a very sort of matter of fact, like clear-cut way. But again, it's like there is a maliciousness there. Like, how is the money going to flow towards you?
You're not marry someone just for money.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So Mollie and Ernest are chatting. She speaks Osage, so he can't understand what she says. But then he starts to read a book, and there's that line from the trailer where he's like reading the book, and it says, "Can you find the wolves in this picture?"
I've never seen that. I never seen the trailer for this movie.
Okay, well, so he's reading the book, and there's like one like page where there's like all these wolves hiding in the tall grass, and it says, "Can you see the wolves in this picture?" And then the camera like fucking just like pans up, and you see his brother Byron there, and Byron, Ernest, and a guy named Blackie.
Blackie.
Go put on like masks and just go rob a bunch of Osage people and take their jewels and stuff. And they're like, "Come on, that's like that. My dad gave me those." And he's like, "You didn't work for it anyway," they say, and they take the jewels away from them, go gambling, put all the jewels down on a bet and lose it all.
So just like so obvious that it's like where these jewels came from. You know? Like,
but it doesn't matter.
No one cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody's looking into it. They lose it all. We also learn about Wakanda, which is God. Mm-hmm. So if you keep hearing them say Wakanda, that's why.
I don't really think they heard about them too much.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Mollie buys Ernest.
God's dead by second half.
Yeah, it's clearly. Mollie buys Ernest a cowboy hat. She's very sweet on him. They spend the evening together. Ernest says that he's his own man and he does his own work, even though he's only here because of his uncle. Mm-hmm. And Ernest starts like putting the moves on her.
So how did he get involved with her originally? He just happened to be her driver, like they hired. Now, how did he get that job as being a driver?
He couldn't do anything else, and so his uncle's like, "I'll give you a car you can drive."
And then he just happened to drive only for Mollie, or
he's
just kind of like
he starts to make it. Well, at first he just Mollie comes out of the building where she got the money for the medication and stuff. There was a bunch of ruckus, and Ernest went straight to her and was like, "Hey, I've got a car. I will drive you wherever you need to go."
Got it. Okay.
And then from then on, he's her trusted driver, basically.
Got it. Okay.
So they're in the house late at night. Her mom's asleep. They're talking. He's starting to put the moves on her, and he's like, "What color's your skin?" And she says, "It's my color." And it's like, "Ooh, that's a good line."
It's a good line.
It's a great line.
It's also like, what kind of question?
What kind of question is that?
Are you blind, dude? Like,
yeah. And so she starts to speak Osage, and he understands her now. She's called him a coyote.
Oh, can you spot the coyote?
Can you spot the coyote in this picture? It starts raining outside, so they sit in silence listening to the rain. It's like a really great moment where it's like he can't really sit still, and he keeps trying to like fill up the silence. And she's like, "No, like just listen to the rain, listen to nature."
She's a very quiet, silent person, but a woman of few words, but really all those words are like
so powerful,
so good.
Yeah, it's good shit. So Ernest goes to church with Mollie because she goes to church and he wants to impress her. He doesn't usually go to church, but like I said, wants to impress her. After church, this is a thing that used to happen where like it's like a Catholic church they go to. So they go to church, and then after church, everyone outside the church just like hangs out for the rest of the like afternoon.
That's church.
Yeah.
You're like hanging out with your friends.
Yeah. But it's like a whole town type deal. So they're all out playing games and stuff. And
small town.
The ladies are like, Mollie and all of her sisters are like chatting about like boys that they like. And we learn about a man named Bill. You know Bill?
Maybe.
He's a white guy. He's married to Rita by your half of the movie. Yes.
He's
Bill.
in my half.
So my half, he's married to one of Minnie. Mollie's one of Mollie's other sisters. You never meet Minnie.
Ooh.
Minnie's already looking pretty worse for wear. She's
Uh-huh.
got the wasting illness, basically.
Okay.
And there doesn't seem to be any way to help her.
Mm-hmm.
And so Minnie and Mollie and Rita and Anna, those are the sisters, are all sort of talking to each other, chatting about like how much they like boys and how, Mollie's like, I really like Ernest, but I don't know if he really likes me or if he just likes my money. And I think Anna's the one that's like, he's got money. His uncle's very rich. He clearly just loves you.
True, yeah.
I don't think he's interested in your money.
He doesn't need money, but where's his uncle get money? I don't know.
His money is
Just cattle, right?
from cattle.
Yeah, sure.
From cattle.
Sure.
Exactly. So then Mollie and Ernest are making out in the car, and he's like, I want to marry you. And she seems very happy about that. But, and this is a really, again, this is the good Scorsese shit. It's like, he wants to marry her. She wants to marry him. We should immediately cut to the wedding, right?
Yeah.
No, we cut to Ernest asking for permission from his uncle whether he should marry Mollie. Because King's the one that runs everything.
Yeah.
He needs to be the deciding factor, So he goes to her, or Ernest goes to King, and King's like, can you stand her kind? And Ernest is like,
They're beautiful people, but
Yeah.
can you stand their kind?
exactly.
Yeah.
And Ernest is like, well, he's like, I love her. She's a real lady,
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, they get married to her. And then they get married. But it's like that scene has to happen because it's clear that Ernest puts a lot of stock in King's decision making. Also, this is a business decision. You have to consult your uncle as to whether or not this decision is going to
Didn't
be
ask
made.
her father.
No. Well,
I don't-
her father's dead.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to ask.
We learned this at this moment during the wedding because at the ceremony, we learned one, King was a good friend of Mollie's dead dad. He says, I always called him by his proper name. He wanted to be called Jimmy, but I called him by his real name. And so it's another thing of like an
Osage
ally.
name, I assume.
Huh?
It's
It's Osage name.
yeah.
But it's like it's an ally who's like not actually like there to actually look out for
Yeah.
anybody. And then the second thing we see is Minnie is absolutely wasting away. She's got like bags in her eyes. She's like looking in the middle distance. And King comes up and is like, Minnie, do you need any help? Do you need anything? And she's like, no, I'll do the best I can. And at first I was like, I didn't know what Bill's relation to everything was. I thought Bill and King might have been on good terms. But now I realize King's trying to make sure that Minnie doesn't die too soon because what's going on here, the plot of the movie,
Mike's finally going to tell me the plot. Yay! Thank you. Thank
finally
you.
happening. Okay. Here's what's going on. All right. We got two groups of white people that are after the money of Mollie's family. So you've got King and Ernest and the other brother, Byron, who's trying to marry up all of Mollie's sisters, basically. And then you've got this guy, Bill, who's also trying to marry up all of Mollie's sisters because the both of them know
He seems to be doing it himself.
he's doing it himself.
Okay.
Right, exactly. And so the thing is really the conflict, other than the obvious conflict between like, the Osage Nation and white people, is the other conflict is between these two groups of white people.
It literally is
trying to get money
I mean,
from
it
this
literally
family.
is like a commodity, right? Because there's two competing businesses really trying to extract all the resources from quote unquote comedy.
Exactly.
Economy. So it even needs grocers, two mob families fighting over drugs, basically.
100%. And they even refer there's even like a thing later on where they stop referring to them as even like people. They start referring to them as blankets. Because they
weird.
wear blankets all the time, I think. And so it's this thing of like, the old man and his blanket. Like they're not even referring to them as human anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's like even more disgusting. Like they've completely separated them from like as being like recognized as human beings, basically. They are a commodity. They're cattle, essentially, to these white people. And that's where the beginnings of this sort of like conflict is beginning. So then in this scene, Minnie, like I said, is like perishing. She's going away. She's like clearly dying, even at her, sister's wedding. And King like gets down on his knees in front of Minnie and says, I just want to apologize for what we have brought, he says. And then he starts to pray in like Osage. He starts like making a big show of all this in front of everybody. Camera like flies out. We see all this big, beautiful like celebration of the love between Mollie and Ernest. Hard cut. Minnie's dead. Minnie's dead in a bed. And Mollie and all of her sisters are sitting around Minnie. So that's one sister gone.
One sister gone. One family member gone.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it's just Mollie and her sisters at this point?
And it's
all
their
all
mom.
their mom. Okay. Got
So
it.
now it's Mollie, Anna, Rita, and their mom.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So at the funeral, King brings Anna the other sister some alcohol, and later on it's revealed that Anna has a problem with drinking. Again, I think it's this thing of like King is trying to slowly, subtly instigate the perishing of the family by bringing her alcohol. Also, Minnie's husband, Bill, asks Ernest, because Ernest is in the house because he knows Mollie. He's basically married to Mollie. Like he should be there to like for her. But Bill's like, get out of my house. You shouldn't be allowed in here, because again, he's trying to usurp this family. He's trying to own this money essentially. So Ernest goes outside and talks to King, and King's like, Bill, he didn't take good care of her. You should be taking better care of Mollie when you marry her. But it's like a subtle.
Wait, Bill?
Bill, what's his name?
Ernest?
No, Bill. Bill's the one.
Oh, Bill's telling Ernest.
King is telling Ernest that Bill did not take good care of Minnie.
Okay, but you should take better
But
care
you
of
should be
Mollie.
taking care of better care of Mollie.
Got it. So I'll make sure.
Yeah, that's what's going on. We learned that Mollie has a baby now and diabetes.
Yay for one, boo for the other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, boo for babies. And what else?
Yeah, she joins in Joe Jonas now,
That's right. Yeah. Also, he says Sister Anna carries a gun in her purse. So Sister Anna has a bit of a drinking problem, and also kind of has like, I want to say, like, I think the movie tries to portray her as like maybe she has a bit of an anger issue, but like I don't think she has an anger issue. I think she's just not being fucking listened to. And what are the other things? Oh, he says Ernest, now pay attention. Bill's taking money away from us. He like straight up just says like, he's taking money away from us. We need to get the money back.
Yeah.
If once that mom goes, that money's going to end up going more to Bill than it's going to go to us. Mollie's house. Oh my God, this scene was fucking hard to watch. So after this scene happens, the funeral, we see Mollie's house. Now earlier we saw it and it was beautiful. It was really warm, it was really comfortable because it was Mollie and her family, her sisters, her mom, all living in this little house. Now it's just fucking full of white people. It's like all of their kids and the family and the uncles and the aunts and like the grandparents, full of this fucking house. And it's like all fucking running around and fucking making messes and yelling over each other. And there's like the fucking dying grandma like in the corner, like fucking perishing, and everyone just can't wait for her to die so then they get her fucking money. And it's like fucking disgusting just to see like how they've taken over this house. It's truly disgusting.
The house is so empty by the time I get to it.
That's interesting. Grandma sees a sign of death approaching. It's an owl. And
an owl, huh?
It's an owl. She's like, I want to see Anna. I want to see Anna. The mom says to Mollie, and she's like, you guys are all marrying all these white men. Like, what are you doing? Like, why can't you be marrying like our own kind? Like, what's going on here? And then she's like, I want to talk to Anna. And so Mollie's like, all right, Anna's coming. And then we cut to these old people in the house, and they're looking at the kids. And these two old people are like, these kids are half. There's like two kids, there's like a little boy and a little girl, and the little girl's like slightly darker than the little boy. And it's like, these kids are half savage. And then it's like, well, that little girl, he's really dark. That little boy is really light, but that little girl is really, really dark. And then
someone wants to play video games in their house, and someone wants to go outside and dig.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, come on.
But yeah, it's just like they're just being so, and like they're sitting across the table from them. It's like just absolutely looking down their noses at these poor kids. It's awful. Then Anna arrives home. She's a little drunk. She gets into a fight with her husband, who's accusing her of sleeping around. Byron is her husband, by the way. Anna's married to Byron.
Got it.
And so Byron, after getting in a fight with his wife Anna, starts flirting with someone in front of her. And so she fucking pulls a gun on her husband, and then Ernest like wrestles it away, takes Byron, pushes him out the back of the house through the back, and Anna's Mollie grabs Anna to like pull her away as well. So they're just going to sort of separate for a bit. We then cut to a guy named Charlie Whitehorn. I do not recognize him from earlier, but he's just fucking straight up murdered out in front of his oil rig.
Okay, sure.
In cold blood. And then we cut back to Anna's husband Byron. He's like, yeah, Charlie got murdered out in front of his rig the other day. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, I think I'm gonna take Anna home. He says to
not suspicious at all.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I think I'm gonna take her home. And then Ernest is like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to take her home with me right now. And it's like, you can feel like the tensity, like the tenseness of this scene of like, you can tell Byron's going to fucking murder Anna. So Anna's upstairs with her mom. They're lying in bed together. And her mom's like, I love you so much, Anna. Please never leave me. Like, you know, like I love you so much. And then Anna's like, it's all right, Mom. I'll always be there for you. And then they were like, Anna, let's leave. Let's get out of here. And she's like, all right, I'll be right down. So she leaves. You know, and it's this whole thing, and she gets in the car and she's like, let's go drinking more. And Byron's like, no, I think you've had enough. I think we need to go home. And she's like, oh, you're so boring. And they get in the car and they drive off. And the very next day, she's found dead and disfigured.
Ooh.
She's been fucking horribly murdered.
And disfigured?
Interesting. And so now we have two different members of the Osage Nation. You got Charlie and you've got Anna, both murdered in cold blood.
Yeah, so, and you also have the earlier person who got wasted away, like the other sister, right?
Who? Yeah, but wasting illness is just seen as like an illness. That's not.
I guess that's true.
That's not seen
obvious.
as like being poisoned. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These are just straight up obvious signs of murder, basically.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole council that meet amongst the Osage, and they're like, we need to figure out who fucking murdered these people because this isn't cool. Like, this is two people right next to each other. This is fucked up.
Yeah,
we got to figure out
under attack. Obviously,
clearly something is befalling us. And so Mollie's like, I'm going to be paying a private investigator to come and look into this myself. I'll be paying him myself, basically. And the council's like, and we should also send. Oh yeah, there's this one member of the tribe. I think he's like the co-chief, and he's like, what? Here's what happens. This is what happens when we take money from white men. It's like they come like buzzards and they're picking us clean. And they're like, all these white men are a bunch of fucking bums, and they act like they own the place. And it's like, this is so fucked up. He's like, we never prayed for the great life. We just prayed for life, and this is what's happening to us, you know. And it's like,
it's also wild because they're clearly like assimilating to white culture anyway. Like they're you know they have their way of dress, and they obviously have their way of life, but they're still like, I'm gonna live in this fucking nice house, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like still not good enough. In fact, it makes them just jealous.
It makes the white people even more jealous. Yeah. Well, it's that's honestly like the greedy thing about King. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you don't already have enough money and power and influence? No, you need to like take these people down too.
Or maybe he just hates Bill so much. Bill sucks.
Yeah.
Bill's pretty bad.
Bill's a pretty bad guy. But even Bill, it's like, that's again, it's like, what the like, you can't just let them. It's the same thing with like the Tulsa thing. It's like, you just can't have like let people have this nice thing.
Let people win. It's like, no, I can't because they're not me, and they're
not me,
it.
and they don't look like me.
They got lucky, and it's like everyone gets fucking lucky.
Fuck yeah. King didn't get lucky.
Yeah.
Ernest didn't get lucky by being fucking like born into King's family or anything, you know. So King says during this council, he's like, I'm going to put money down and I will pay for any information about these murders. If anybody has any information about who killed these people, you come to me and I'll pay you for it. It's like, well, fucking, you know who did it. Like, you know, like obviously you're not going to give any money.
Save face though.
They also say that they're going to send a man named Barney to Washington, D.C. to go talk to the Indian Affairs Commission in Washington, D.C. And they will bring the police and investigators to come and investigate what's going on here. And Barney does go to Washington, D.C., and the minute he arrives, he gets fucking murdered in an alleyway. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
immediately murdered.
Barney's a native guy?
No, he's actually like a white guy that's married to a native person. But like clearly he's like, he's one of the good ones.
Yeah, I was going to say, clearly he was not aligned with crime.
No, exactly. So Bill, Minnie's widow, is now married to Rita. And there's this stare down between Bill and Ernest. And at first, when I first saw the movie, I'm like, oh, it's like Ernest must see how weird it is that he's like marrying sisters. That's so odd. But now I realize it's like, no, they see this family as, like you said, a commodity. Yeah. And it's like, if you keep marrying these women, you're going to end up like taking all the money that we're going to be getting out of them, basically. Yeah. We cannot allow that. Ernest speaks with the Undertaker because they're burying Anna now. About to bury Anna. And Ernest is like, hey, I know. He's talking to the Undertaker personally, privately. He's like, hey, I know that you like to steal the jewels that the body's usually buried with. Don't do that with Anna, please. Because, you know, she's my sister-in-law. You know, she's part of the family now. I don't want you to be stealing her jewelry. And the Undertaker's like, I do it. No one's looking. And he's like, I get that, but like, I don't want you to do that because, you know, again, it means a lot to the family.
Ernest is an interesting character because it's like, he clearly seems to care more than everyone else in terms of their commodity. I feel like she's like, oh, he actually does like Mollie, but also he's very loyal to his family still.
So you know, he's saying all this stuff about the jewelry, and I also was like, wow, he really cares about Anna. And then later on, the reason he asked them to bury him with the jewelry is because then later on he just breaks into the grave and takes the jewelry from the body.
So I didn't have that context. So for me, I was like sitting through the whole movie, like, what is his real allegiance? Does he really care about Anna? Or
I think he truly does care about Molly. I think there is a bit of him that does care about Molly a bit, but like I think he cares more about.
I think he cares about Molly, but doesn't give a fuck about her family.
No,
you know,
no. And I think it's the thing. I mean, it's the same thing as like, we talked like last week about like Maestro, this idea of like a person who's clearly in love with someone who cheats. And it's like, I think it's the same thing with like Ernest. It's like he loves Molly, but he doesn't love her enough to like, care about her in a real way, you know? It's like it's a similar thing of like maybe he like loves her insofar as like he wants to like own her or possess her,
or loves her but not enough to actually really see her as a person and as someone who actually is a full person who has wants and desires. And more seriously, like, I love her, I love hanging out with her, but I really love her money.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that happens, and then also he confronts the Undertaker saying that he's charging them Osage prices. The Undertaker's like, he's like, Molly asked for an open casket, and then he's like, open casket? She doesn't have a face. Why would she want an open casket? But it's like clearly he's like nickel and diming him, the Undertaker, and the Undertaker's like, look, it ain't your money, and you're getting. It's like I'm an Undertaker. I work for my money. When's the last time you ever saw one of them working? So it's this thing of like they didn't earn the money. They didn't earn the money that they have. So
jealousy, baby.
It is.
It's all about jealousy.
It's fucked up. Minnie is leaving money to the family. So it's like there's like a reading of the will about like how Minnie's like distributing some of her wealth amongst her sisters and her mom. But the guy reading the will is like, this is a lot of money. Maybe you could use some of it to like throw a little party for the town. And it's like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, why would I ever do that?
People are fucking dying in this town. I hate this place now.
Fuck this place. Nobody cares about us. Nobody likes us. So yeah. Then we meet Bill Burns. He's a private investigator. He arrives, and he's talking to Molly, and he's talking to Ernest. And he's like, so this guy Bill, he was married to one of Molly's sisters. And then that sister died. Now he's married to another sister. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, that seems really fishy.
That seems pretty suspicious. Wow, what a great detective.
Well, it is fishy, but it's also like nobody else is really pointing out how fucking weird this is that all these white guys are going around marrying these like native people, and then the native people fucking die, leaving all of their like estate to these white people, Yeah. This like Bill Burns is like the first person to actually like point out how fucking fishy all this shit is. Also, it's revealed, and this is one of the more important aspects of the movie, Bill, Minnie's widow, is going around asking about who killed Anna. Now, who killed Anna?
Him.
No.
Oh, Byron.
Byron killed Anna.
Byron killed Anna.
And so what he's trying to do is he's trying to prove that Byron and the King family killed Anna, because if he can prove that, then money will go to him.
Right.
And so Molly's like, I want to figure out who killed Anna. She's my sister. It's important to me. But Ernest is like, we can't allow him to figure out who killed Anna, because then it'll come down on us and we'll lose out on all the money. Doesn't tell this to Molly, but tells this to King.
How's he spill that to Molly?
Molly's completely in the dark about all this.
Okay.
Also, it's revealed Anna was pregnant.
Eee.
Yeah, Anna was pregnant when she died.
Yikes.
And then there's this weird bit where Ernest is talking, because he's learning all this from the private investigator, then immediately goes to King and tells him about this, and goes to King. Ernest tells King about how Anna was pregnant, and King's like, was it Byron's? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, was it mine?
What?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So,
well,
Blackie and Ernest chat about killing Bill and Rita. They're like, yo, we got to get rid of them, And at first Ernest just sort of flown the idea, like, it'd be really great if you could, like, go in there, kill them both.
Get out.
Great.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty great. That'll work out really well for me. And then Blackie's like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's a good idea. And then Ernest is like, all right, how about this? Steal my car, and then I'll collect the insurance money. And Blackie's like, all right, I'll do that.
Okay.
So Blackie does that. Blackie steals the car, and Ernest collects the insurance money.
And that's that.
And then Blackie gets caught by the cops
and
is thrown in jail.
Well,
and I'll get into that in a little bit later. Molly and Ernest lie in bed. She's like, Ernest, I don't know if you love me anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel like you're not there for me anymore. I can't tell, can't read what's going on. And Ernest is like, of course I love you. Of course I love you, Mollie.
Of course I do.
Of course I do.
Why would it be any different? I love you and I love your money. I mean, your face.
Everything. Your skin.
Your skin is great.
Your belly.
What color is it?
Insulin has been developed, and they're going to be giving it to Mollie, but it is expensive. Very, very expensive.
Some things never change.
Yeah, exactly. Blackie's caught in Ernest's car. King is pissed because the whole idea was that Blackie was going to fucking kill Bill and Rita. And now he can't do it because he's in prison.
Yeah.
So now King takes Ernest to the Masonic Temple. I guess he's the owner. He's like a member of the Masonic like lodge, basically.
Okay.
And he fucking paddles Ernest in the ass really fucking hard.
All right.
Because he's like, it's so funny because at first I'm like, oh, he's going to be pissed because Ernest like suggested this idea of like Bill and Rita, and is like, no, he's pissed that he suggested this stupid thing of like stealing the car and collecting the insurance money when like now Blackie can't do the crime that he wants him to do.
Yeah.
So he's super pissed about that. And he's like, well, now we need to find somebody else. Then we see Bill Burns, the private investigator. He's like going back to his little hotel room because he's like investigating stuff. And he goes in the hotel room, and then these three men show up and just start beating the fuck out of him.
God.
And later on, we reveal it's Byron and Ernest are the ones that beat him up.
Damn.
Yeah.
They did a lot.
They're doing a lot. We get a newsreel of the awful Tulsa massacre brought to you by Fox News.
Been around a long time, huh?
Yeah. So King and Ernest go to a guy.
Was there any comment on it? People were like, "Wow, that's
they just
crazy."
Watch.
Okay.
And King's sort of watching. He's like watching on the big screen, just like, yeah, probably like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I got money too, huh? Yeah.
That's
all right.
smart. King and Ernest go to a moonshine dealer looking for someone to kill Bill and Rita.
Okay.
And they're like, look, it can't be poison like usual. We can't poison them. It needs to be something where they both die at the same time. So like maybe like explosives. And he's like, oh, there's this guy named AC Kirby you should get.
AC Kirby. Okay.
Does Casey Kirby come and play in your half
Definitely
movie?
comes into play.
There we go. He's like, that's the guy you need to get to blow, because he's like, just put a bunch of dynamite in the basement, blow him up. And that's all you need to do. You're gonna be fine.
Simple.
Easy
job.
Mollie is now very paranoid about the insulin. She's like, the insulin is not helping. It's not making me feel any better. She refuses to get it administered into her. And Ernest starts freaking out. He gets angry. He's like tossing racist shit at her and like screaming at her and just going like, look, this is for the bet. Like, this is for the best for you. And she's like, it's not helping. It's not making me feel any better. And then he's like, look, what? Like, you need this. This is gonna help you. You need it. You need this. And then she's like, okay, you do it for me. You inoculate me. And so he's like, okay. So he starts administering the insulin into her, and it's like, I'm under the
as opposed to who was
suspicion-
doing it before.
Doctors.
Okay.
So now he has to do it, and it's like, I'm under the suspicion that means like the insulin is just full on poisoned, and he must know this. He knows that that's what he's doing. Is he's trying to give her a reason to like waste away, basically.
Interesting.
And now he's straight up like, now he's actively, in my feeling, he's actively now killing her by like injecting her with poison, basically. What next? Henry. Remember how earlier I was mentioning Henry is like the native guy who like owns a bunch of land?
Yeah.
And drove Ernest into town to meet King?
Yeah.
He's brought to the doctor, and they're like, hey, how you feeling, Henry? They're just like checking in on his like health. And he's like, yeah, I feel sad. And they're like,
kind of bummed, man. Everyone's dying.
yeah. And
All my people are dying, dude.
And they're like, oh, well, we can't help you with that, but how you feeling like health wise? And he's like, oh, I feel fine, I guess. And then they're like, yeah, you seem fit as a fiddle. And then and King's there during this doctor's appointment. And King's like, yeah, he seems perfectly fine. And he's like, yeah, King, why you bring him up here? And he's like, because I'm gonna kill him. Ha ha. And everyone just starts laughing at the idea that he's gonna kill Henry. The King's gonna kill Henry.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, obviously that's what the plan is. And then the doctor checks out Henry, and he's like, oh, you seem perfectly fine. And then Henry's like, well, what about my melancholy? And he's like, just fucking drink. Who cares? He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Nope.
And then the doctor brings King aside, and the doctor's like, he's like, this is going to be a hard one to legitimize.
Yeah, because
he's fit as a fiddle.
You can't die, dude.
He's perfect. He's like very healthy.
Yeah,
There's no way he's going to die.
Oh, man.
And so after the meeting, after the appointment, King and Henry are talking to each other. And Henry, this part, so fucking sad. Henry's like, King, I'm gonna hurt myself. Like he's like, my wife is unfaithful to me, and I don't want to be here anymore. I'm unhappy. I don't want to live. I'm an embarrassment. And he's like, either give me a bottle or give me a gun, because I'm gonna do something and I don't know what to do.
Oh shit!
And it's like he's got like full on straight. He's like depression.
All right, I'm gonna encourage the bad part now. I'm not gonna be a good person.
King doesn't encourage the bad part. He's like,
really?
no. He's like, no, you can't. Don't do anything bad. Don't do anything bad. And Henry's like, I can't do this anymore. And he goes and he finds the guy that was sleeping with his wife and beats the fuck out of him. And then he goes to he's like gets drunk and he tries to get more money from the bank or whatever. And then King and Ernest show up and like drag him away from the thing and try to like calm him down. And they bring him back to the house. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, if King's whole idea is he wants him to die, like why not encourage this bad behavior, instead of like stopping to do that. And so Ernest asks him. Ernest is like, why are you doing this? And he's like,
I'll take care of that man because he's my neighbor and he's my best friend. There's $25,000 laying there. I got an insurance policy on him. It's against what he owes me. So if he succeeds in demising himself before the end of the year, I forfeit. So he needs to stay alive at least a few more months.
Huh.
So that's why he can't allow him to kill himself just yet. He wants to make sure that he lives just long enough so that he can recoup on his investment. And all this discussion is said with Ernest in a chair, King in a chair, and lying on the ground like dead drunk is Henry. And it's this idea again of like he's just cattle. He's just
the thing there.
He's just the thing that can get him money.
Yeah.
It's just such good directing. So then King says, Ernest, Henry and Mollie, they're married. And Ernest is like, what? And he's like, yeah, they were married when they were 15 years old. The Osage, they don't divorce. And I'm like, I don't know if I fucking trust this guy. I think he's lying. Because and he's like, and Ernest is like, well, she didn't tell me. And he's like, well, if she keeps her secrets, that means you can keep your secrets. And I think this is a way of King sort of convincing Ernest that like Ernest can do bad things and not tell Mollie
her because she has her own.
Because she has her own secrets that he's concocted here, most likely.
So it's so sad because he's so gullible to all this shit.
I know, yeah. And then Ernest is like, Henry, if Henry was married to Mollie, do you think he might have a claim to that money?
Oh, so now he's giving him more motive to be like,
we got to take care of Henry. Exactly.
Get Henry out of here.
So the mom is dead.
R.I.P.
Mom finally dies.
Just of old age?
Did
someone push it?
No, she dies of old age. It's not only really like peaceful and sad. She sees her ancestors calling her to the other side, and it's very sad. It's very peaceful and painful. And then during like the funeral, Mollie's talking to King, and Mollie's like, "Look, I'm really nervous. I don't think there's a lot of people out there that care a lot about us. And there's this like growing group of people out there." And he's like, "Oh, I want to say right now, I'm very opposed to the Ku Klux Klan. I want to know. I'm opposed to them. They just want power, but they're not going to get it." And it's like, it's just, I don't know.
He's literally just like the same person.
He's exactly the same.
Different wolf in different clothing.
Exactly, yeah. King suggests that Mollie, he's like, look, you guys have made a lot of really bad decisions with your money. So I suggest next time you want to spend it, you come to me. I'm King. You can always trust me. Next time you make any kind of decisions financially, consult me with it first so I can give you my consultation.
Yeah.
And they trust him. Of course they trust him. And then he's like, by the way, you guys seem different. And Ernest's like, yeah, well, Mollie's pregnant. We're going to have another baby. And King is visually very upset about this.
Oh.
And I couldn't figure out why. And I think why he's upset is because he doesn't think Mollie can survive another pregnancy. Because she's already starting to like waste away with like these insulin shots and all that stuff. I think he's nervous that Mollie might die before Rita does. If she has another baby.
Really bad.
Yeah, it'd be very bad.
For money.
For money. What else? So Ernest asks a guy who works for the Moonshine Dude to become good friends with Henry and then kill him, but make it look like a suicide. Because everyone knows Henry's got the melancholy. So he's like, all you got to do is befriend him. And then, you shoot him in the front of the head. And then you leave the gun at his body. And you just walk off. And it's going to be fine. It'll be all good, King will get the insurance money. And then everything's going to go hunky-dory.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. But this fucking guy doesn't know what the fuck to do, and he shoots him in the back of the head in a car, leaving blood all over the windshield, and then he just runs off with the gun in his pocket and gives it to Ernest. So Ernest has the murder weapon now.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, and Ernest goes and talks to Mollie, and he's like, yeah, Henry's dead. And Mollie's like, yeah, it's so painful. It's like Mollie's had to deal with so much fucking death at this point. Like, the only person left alive in her family now is Rita, And she's so fucking, it's like another blow. Another person that she grew up with and loves is gone now that Henry's gone. And she's just like, did he do it to himself? And Ernest is like, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. And he's like, do you know what happened to him? Like, do you know? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe he killed himself. Somebody was cheating on his wife was cheating on him. Maybe it was that guy. Maybe it was Roy Bunch. This dude his name is Roy Bunch.
Roy Bunch. What a name, boy. Roy Bunch of ladies he's hitting on.
That's right, baby.
Yeah, Roy Bunch.
Roy Bunch. So he's like, yeah, maybe Roy Bunch. Maybe Roy Bunch killed him or whatever. And Mollie doesn't fucking believe any of this. Mollie's starting to get way more suspicious of because also, like, Ernest is so bad about this. Like, he's
a terrible liar.
He's terrible at this. So then King, it's so funny because all this is happening like in the kitchen, and then King shows up, angry, pissed, and they're yelling at each other outside the house, like, can't believe that guy killed Henry wrong. They're screaming at each other. It's like, Mollie can absolutely hear you inside the house, guys. Fucking lower your voices.
Calm down, dude.
So they get in the car and they're like freaking out, like, this is big trouble. Like, it needed to look like a suicide. Now it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get the money. There's gonna be another investigation in on this. You got the wrong guy to do this. And they're driving around, and then they see Roy Bunch, the guy, Roy Bunch of ladies. And they go up to Roy Bunch, and they're like, hey, Roy, just want to let you know, Henry, that guy that just beat you up, he's dead. And Roy's like, yeah? And King's like, if I were you, I'd get out of here because I think the law's going to come for you. And Roy's like, if I leave, it's going to look like I'm fleeing, King. And he's like, I'm just saying, if you stick around, you might get arrested. And he's like, yeah, and if I leave, I'm going to get thrown in prison. So he's like, I'm going to ignore your advice. Hey, have a good day. And then King's like, all right, suit yourself. And he drives off. And that's the end of that scene. And then we see Mollie and Ernest having another kid. And the ceremony is mostly white people. And now it's your half of the movie.
Okay. So I saw the part with them telling the guy to move from, get out of there for murder.
Oh,
I
okay.
see Ernest with the boy. And then I see some dude goes outside and there's a dead dog. Don't know what's up with that.
Don't know what that's about.
Don't know what that's about. I've really got a lot of backstory here that was filled in, and I'm trying to put the pieces together. Excuse me if I do it poorly, but here we go.
It's fine. You got this, buddy.
Mollie needs to get away from home.
Why?
Because fucking people are dying. She's like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And she can't make the trip. So they go in, and I guess Ernest goes and visits. I call him Weird Guy. I think it's Bill.
Weird Guy. Bill. Yeah,
Bill.
Bill is a weird guy.
Bill's a weird fucking guy. Like, he literally is like,
he's got a bad energy about him.
Ernest, do you need a drink? And he's like, yeah, I need a drink. And he's like, I don't have any. He's like, why'd you ask that then? And he's like, oh, I wanted to see if you were the type of person who needed a drink. And it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, why are you so nervous, Ernest? And he's like, I'm nervous because I don't like talking to you. And I'm like, yeah, he's weird. I don't like talking to him either.
Yeah.
And he says, well, aren't you here to kill me, or is it your big brother's job? And I'm like, what is happening? What is this guy's dynamic?
Yeah.
And then he says,
this is definitely Bill.
Mollie, we got to leave this house. And then they leave. And I'm like, I think he was doing something there. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
Some guy named Jim gets a call from Myrtle to say hey, get anything special out of the house. And he's like, all right.
What does Jim look like? Does he have a big old mustache?
I think he has a mustache.
I think he's the guy that killed Henry.
Oh, okay, maybe. He's like, get anything special out of the house. King is off to Fort Worth. He's like, Ernest, go find AC Kirby. Is that his name? AC Kirby?
AC Kirby's the explosives guy.
Yeah, he's like, go find him and tell him to get the job done.
Mm-hmm. This must have been very confusing for you.
I was so confused. So many names.
Yeah.
And so fucking Ernest goes to this guy named John. And John is this, have you seen him? He kind of looks like, Daniel Day-Lewis, but sad.
Daniel Day-Lewis, does he have a mustache?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the guy that killed Henry.
Oh,
then.
okay.
Okay, that's John.
He's so funny. He's just he's like, you gotta do it, John. My wife's sick. And he's like, my wife's sick.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta get back to work. It's the only job I have. He's like, I don't care. Do it. He's like, I don't want to gonna do it. Ernest is like, just do it, damn it. He's like, all right, fine. I'll go find AC.
Yeah.
So he goes and finds him. And AC opens the door, and I'm thinking this guy's gonna kill AC. I thought he was gonna get the. He meant
You didn't know what's going on.
Well, he said get the job done. So I'm like, he's
Yeah.
gonna fucking whack him.
Yeah.
It's a mob movie.
Yeah, that's right.
He finds AC, and AC just asks, "Do you have the soup with you?" And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But
This is the funnest part of the podcast. I'm so happy.
It's so, like, you gotta understand, bro.
You watched the entire movie like
There is, yes, it is an entire movie. It's 90-something minutes.
you missed that
I
much
missed
of
that
the
much
movie.
movie, too.
Yeah.
Ernest tells Mollie, stay in the dang house tonight, okay? And she's like, all right. So they go to bed,
Don't tell me twice.
and they're sleeping soundly, and then boom!
Whoa.
The windows are blown out of their own house,
Whoa.
and everyone runs outside, and everything's on fire, and it's all like one crazy shot. And someone just says, it's just like Tulsa. I was like, oh, okay. And it's one shot of chaos, and the whole house is just everyone's running around, panicking.
It's all done in one shot too.
Yes,
That's cool.
It's really cool. And then he goes outside and it cuts. But still, I like it that it's one cool shot, but doesn't
Doesn't take
about
away.
it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out whose house it was. And it's Bill and Rita's house.
Of course it was.
Exploded.
Yeah.
And I don't know who these people are.
Right. It's that guy from the bar.
Sure, yeah. And everyone's looking for it's hard to recognize them because everyone's looking for the bodies, and there's Bill just yelling there going, just shoot me! Just shoot me among the rubble of all the fire and stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know who that guy is, but it seems like he's gonna die.
Yeah.
But then you find Rita, and she's dead,
Oh.
and all the people around her are like picking her up, and they're like, is she okay? And they pick her up, and her brain back like just falls out.
God.
Like you see like her brain fall out, and it's
Oh
just like
God.
everyone, even like Ernest Ernest looks genuinely horrified. So I'm
Yeah.
like, he must have probably, knowing everything,
Yes.
even though I have, I'm thinking what happens. He probably told AC Kirby like the plans, like where to plant the explosives, or he was planting himself. But it's weird to be like, we need AC Kirby now. So I assume he goes in later and like plants the explosives while they're sleeping and blows it up.
Yes, definitely.
Probably like maybe he unlocks like something.
Yeah,
or
it like unlocks the basement or whatever.
leaves a door
yeah.
open or something like that.
So is Bill dead?
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean,
Whoa.
he's basically dead. They just like kill him. He's under a bunch of rubble and stuff.
Right,
and they're
right,
just
right.
like, well, I don't
Damn,
know what to
dude.
do with him. So, he goes down. Like Ernest goes back home. His whole family's in the basement hiding because they're so
Yeah.
scared. And he just looks at Mollie and just shakes his head. She just screams out loud, just in so much pain. He doesn't even have to say anything. She knows. She knows at this
what's
point
going
what
on.
happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, King's having a great time. He's having a rodeo. He's having a good old time. And he comes back to actually inspect the rubble the next day, and someone, I don't know who, says to him, he's like, you're pronouncing yourself too much, Bill. It's too much dynamite. It's too much. You made it too big. Like, obviously, like, it blew up freaking Ernest's house, which is like a few houses down. Like, that blew all the windows
looks
out.
really suspicious.
This is very suspicious. This isn't
Yeah.
like, oh, my gas. I mean, I don't think gas was around back then, but even then, you know, it's like, you can't accident that.
Yeah.
This is clearly purposeful. So even like they're finding bits of the maid like on the ground. Like I think he
God.
steps on one of her hands or something.
Jesus Christ.
And so Mollie's like, I gotta go to Washington D.C. I gotta get $300 go to Washington D.C. And they're like, you can't go. And Ernest is like, you know what? You should go there. It's like, because what you're gonna do is they're gonna ask for help.
Right.
And they keep being like, you shouldn't do this. And she's like, I have to do it. I don't have long to live. You
Right.
know? I got to do this before I die.
Yeah.
Whether it's from, at this point, I didn't know if it was from being killed or diabetes, or I didn't know what the whole scheme of the movie was still.
Yeah.
But she's like, a bunch of people are dying. I got to go. So
What do you think was going on?
I mean, clearly people were killing other people in the Osage, but I did not know it was her direct family.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I thought it was just maybe people she knew or whatever.
Right.
But now that I've learned later that it is basically her entire family was picked off one by one.
Yeah.
Which is pretty grim.
It's awful. It's so sad.
So then we got a little shot similar to Maestro, earlier film. It's a full frame shot of the president going there. President Coolidge.
Keep it cool.
Keep it cool.
Yeah.
And she goes up to him and is like, please come to Oklahoma. Osage are being killed for their oil money. And he just shakes her hand. And I'm like, that motherfucker's not going to do shit. And then she walks off.
Calvin Coolidge is about doing nothing.
Exactly.
Just
I
keep
wrote,
things
he's going to do nothing.
Maintain. He's a real Joe Biden president.
So,
wait, is it like a guy playing Calvin Coolidge?
well, you can't even see his face.
Oh.
Like, it's literally a
How do you know it's
shot.
Calvin Coolidge?
Because they mention it.
Oh.
They're like, Mr. Coolidge or President Coolidge is going to do this.
So it's not like a Forrest Gump thing where they like put her into like archival footage?
No,
of Calvin
I don't. I
Coolidge?
don't think they
Yeah.
did. No, I'm pretty sure they just made it look like that.
Okay.
I mean, who even has archival footage of Coolidge? Like
footage of Coolidge.
I forgot
Not a
he was.
single
I
one.
honestly forgot he was president.
He's one of the ones I remember because his tagline was literally like "Keep it cool with Coolidge."
Really?
Yes.
Well, now I remember him. I didn't remember that, but now I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so now, so you're like Ernest is fucking helping insulin.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't,
Really?
but now he is. Or now he's being influenced too.
Mm.
But
so he wasn't.
so he wasn't doing any. He was being a nice guy. He was being a good husband.
Well, not a great husband.
Not a great husband.
She did plan to kill her sister.
Yes. Let's
That's
just
not
say
a great husband.
He's a problematic fave. We'll say
Yeah.
that.
Much like Leonardo DiCaprio.
You'd find him in a fanfic. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's right. He's a bad boy.
He's a bad boy. Oh, I hope you don't kill my sister. So bad. So anyway, he is getting pressure from King. Like, you should put this in her insulin. It'll be good. And he's like, I'm not gonna kill her, right? He's like, no. It's just gonna slow her down. She's working too hard. She's going too fast. We don't want her to die or anything. This is just gonna slow her down. And he walks up and he's like, "Are you a God-fearing man?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, you know those miracles? They don't happen anymore. Are you expecting a miracle from this? You got to do something about it.
Yeah.
He's like, "All right, I will."
This is like the worst.
It's just gonna slow her down, right? So, like, from my perspective, I'm even more empathetic to him because I didn't know about all the real bad shit he did.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, this poor guy. He's just being wrapped up in this because it's like his family. I didn't know it was his uncle at this point either.
Yeah. It's somebody's related to. This is like the worst kind of villain I feel too. With like, it's like it's like matter of fact. Like, it's just gonna slow her down. Like,
He's just presenting facts.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
facts don't care about your feelings.
well, sometimes he uses those facts to manipulate your feelings, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you care about your wife, right?
Yeah,
You don't want her
exactly.
to like hurt herself.
Mhm.
You know, you don't want that.
It's so awful.
So Mollie's talking to a priest, and she's like, "I'm afraid to eat in my own house."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "You're afraid to eat in your own house? Like,
Damn.
who do you want?
Damn,
who-
girl, you live like this?
Yeah, who do you think wants to harm you?"
Yeah.
And it cuts to Ernest
Yeah.
in a shot. And,
Good editing.
And it says, and she's like, "Look, I want to bring the upstairs bed back down to the back room to prevent blowback from explosions and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the kids is sick with whooping cough. I can't deal with him. Go have her live somewhere else."
What? Somewhere else?
Well, doesn't want to like spread that shit. Like, she has diabetes, dude. Like, you want to?
No, I know, but like in another building?
I think it's another Osage, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So,
Abandon my child.
I know. Ernest is drugging the insulin still, and
Jesus.
But Mollie literally says, like, only you go and pick it up. I don't want it. I want you to be the supply chain. Like, you're the only one picking it up. You're the only one I trust.
She trusts him. Yeah.
Don't take it from anyone, even your brother. And so she's lying in bed. She's starting to look like shit.
Yeah.
She's starting to go downhill. She's starting to get sweaty and tired. And she sees like an owl walk in, and it just starts yelling at her. I'm like, what is happening?
That's
now,
the sign of death.
the sign of death.
Yeah, her mom saw that.
But
yeah.
it disappears, and instead her husband walks in.
Oh.
And she's like, my mom visited, and she said there's the man in the hat is here. And he's like, the man in the hat? What are you talking about?
Man in the hat.
Suddenly,
Everybody's waiting for the man with the hat.
knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Jesse Plemons with a hat.
What?
Jesse Plemons is Tom White from the FBI fucking I.
Wait, what? Really?
And he's at the door of Ernest and Mollie. And he's like, I'm looking for Mollie because she says a bunch of people are getting killed. And we're here from it's called the Federal Bureau of Investigations. It's put together by Hoover. It's a new thing. We're just
Right.
getting it started. And he's like,
Edgar Hoover.
and
Probably.
they're like, what are you sure? What is this? Are you guys police? It's like, oh, I mean, yeah, kind of police. No one's heard of this shit. No
It's
one's
all
heard of
new.
FBI.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we come in and see her? She's like, oh, she's really, really sick. Really, really sick. And he's like, okay, well, people are dying now. Can we talk to her like later tomorrow? I was like, oh, it'll be too soon. Well, Friday. He's like, Friday? Okay.
Suspicious.
Well, all we know is that all her sisters and mom are dead. And I'm like, oh, they are? Well, okay.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
He's like, well, she's got diabetes, so you'll come back later. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Mhm.
We'll go ahead and do that. Let's see. So there's a whole like town party going on. and a bunch of new people are moving in. Like some guy comes in, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm from Chicago, and I feel like I have some Osage relations, so I'm trying to get back to my roots."
Oh
He's
man.
moving in.
Oh man.
What do you mean? Oh man, this guy's gonna fucking die?
Oh wait, is an actual? This just to me feels like when somebody does like a 23andMe and they're like, I'm like 1/20th. Okay.
This guy's definitely at least Native American looking. So.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not just some white guy. You're like, I feel like I'm.
That's what it felt like. Yeah,
they didn't have 23andMe back then.
Like gentrification bullshit.
People weren't back then being like, I'm 25% Navajo.
Yeah,
People back then weren't doing that. Especially in a part where you're getting fucking massacred.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. That's true. All right.
I guess it was big news back then. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ernest finds King and he tells him, I was like, look, these investigators are here. It's like private investigators. He doesn't even know what the FBI is. He's just like, private investigators are here. They're looking. He's like, oh, settle down, freak out. Don't freak out. It's going to be okay. And by the way, it's just guys just shooting the Liberty Bell. Like, it's a real party. It's a real ruckus.
Damn.
He's like, we'll talk later. Not here. So Tom White's going around and he's asking to help, but everyone's like pissed. And in fact, he talks to the Osage people and they're pissed. They're like, we spent $20,000 to get there to go to Washington D.C. and petition, the president.
Yeah.
Or are you here because a white man finally died?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yeah.
And he's like,
True.
look, I don't know. I just got assigned, dude. It's just my job, man. It sucks.
Doing my job.
I'm just doing my job, dude.
Yeah.
Like, don't blame me. I'm gonna try to figure this out.
Yeah.
So King is harassing this guy who looks like an insurance man, saying this is not a Denver problem because the Denver people are like stopping the payments or something. This is a Fairfax problem, I think. Some guy named CJ. Do you know who CJ is? I don't know. He's looking at cattle.
He wears a backwards hat.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's like ripped jeans.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's looking at cattle with King. He's like, come take a look. I don't know what the fucking guy is. I have no idea. I thought you'd know.
Nope.
So
Don't know who CJ is.
Oops. Sorry, audience.
It's okay.
Mollie is throwing up and stuff. She lays back down. She looks like she's gonna either die or pass out. And Ernest is there helping her. So then the doctor gets interviewed and the Undertaker get interviewed by the FBI. Oh no, just the doctor. The Undertaker refers them to the doctor.
Yeah.
And she's like, why? So that lady who got shot, or is it the guy who got shot? Who got shot like where it was obviously a murder?
Which one?
But they couldn't find the bullet. I can't remember. Oh, it was Anna, I think.
Yeah.
They say like, why'd you cut up the body and cleave with an axe?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we were looking for the bullet. We couldn't find it. Couldn't find the bullet.
Yeah.
Just looking for it. So you cut the whole body up. It's like, oh, we couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's suspicious.
That's pretty suspicious, but all right. This makes it sound like they probably didn't do it, or either the doctor did, or they covered it up, or something. I don't know.
Covering it up, yeah.
Let's see. Mr. White then goes to King and meets him, and he's just cool as a cucumber.
I want to know what happens here.
He's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
He's just getting getting a shave, and he's like, "Hey, King, I was told to talk to you because you like run everything, and I feel like you've noticed that a lot of Osage have been dying." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's bad, A lot of people probably out for him. I think it's black folks that are doing it." I was like, "Oh, okay, of course,
got to have a scapegoat."
And he's like, "But I also just think it's, I don't think it's crazy. It's just bad luck." And he's like, "Are you sure? This seems like kind of a bad. I don't think it's bad luck. But this all seems a little
targeted.
too suspicious to me."
Yeah.
But he's like, "Don't worry, you can ask me later. I'm totally willing to help with all your questions, sir."
I really didn't think Jesse Plemons was going to be a good guy in this movie. I'm shocked.
No, he is great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. I know. Wow. Jesse Plemons being a great guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's always typecast as a scary guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So he tells, but he just play a great awkward, like, I'm not really sure why I'm here, sort of, but I'm going to try to do my best of my ability.
Energy, yeah.
So he tells this dude, Blackie, I've never met him before. Him being King. King tells this dude, Blackie, while he's watching a movie about a robbery, like, hey, there's one last time you can go. I heard this place is pretty empty. You can go check it out, if you want to have one last time out of here. And he's like, oh, basically he tells him, rob this place.
Right.
And he goes and robs it, and all his buddies get shot, and he gets arrested, so that didn't work out
Damn,
very well.
bro.
Yeah, so clearly set up by King to do this.
Yeah. Why would he do that? So that Jesse Plemons can't question him, maybe?
He thought he was actually like going to get away. He didn't really want to work with King anymore. He was just like, all right, I'll fucking take some money. I like money. I'll rob a place.
Sure. But why did King instigate
probably
that?
to distract them.
Right.
Probably to distract them with that is what my thought is.
Got it.
King launches a dance studio. Everyone's very happy about that.
He launches a dance
Kids
studio.
are very happy.
He's gonna teach little kids how to dance.
Yep. Well, no,
Yeah.
he hires someone who's like, you best remember I did it. Anyway, and then he goes up to this guy named Bob, and he's like, Bob, who I think helped open the dance studio. He's like, your real business. I got word that they're gonna rob you at 11 p.m.
What
White
the hell?
guys and some white guys are gonna do it. Yeah. And he's like, oh, so you better watch out. Okay.
Okay.
And then so he goes, hey, AC.
Oh
Good-
yeah,
good
the
to meet you,
explosives
AC.
guy.
AC, there's a great way to get some money. It's a good time to take a trip if you know what I mean. I hear this place leaves the door open. You can go to a trip to that place if you know what I
Just
mean.
keeps doing this shit.
Well, he's sending him to Bill's place or Bob's place. Excuse me.
Who's Bob?
Excuse me. I think it's Bill.
Bill's
name.
dead.
Okay, Bob then. It's Bob.
Who's Bob?
Bob's just some guy who has an owner. He's the guy earlier who was told, "Hey, these guys are gonna rob your house."
Oh, okay.
And so what happens? AC goes, tries to rob the place, gets fucking shot with a shotgun, dies.
So I see. So yeah, he's
Killing
just trying to
witnesses,
to
baby.
tie up any loose ends about the crimes that have
I think he was
occurred.
probably hoping for Blackie to get killed because so many other people got killed, but he got taken into custody.
Right.
So King calls Ernest and is like, "Hey, just want to let you know, buddy." If you get charged, you're gonna beat it. I got a lot of friends. He's like, I'm gonna get charged? He's like, yeah, all those people
Probably.
talking around, poking around. Yeah. By the way, he was playing with that earlier guy. This guy that I mentioned earlier, the native guy, he's just been all over the place. He's like playing with Ernest. He's been in multiple scenes. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? He's gonna get got?
Who is he?
We'll find out.
Okay.
And so he's like, all right, I gotta ask you to sign something so the money stays in the family. Ernest, I gotta ask you to sign something. So he's like, I have to. He's like, you gotta do it. He's like, I love Mollie. He's like, I love Mollie just like you love Mollie, Ernest. But she's gonna die soon, and you know that. Why not give her some medicine so that she's next to you when she passes? You won't be in the same room. Basically, he's like, hey man, kill your wife, dude.
Yeah, straight up.
Get her out of there. But while he's having this conversation, Mr. White is over in the corner, like seeing this in the mirror, like, this is a little suspicious.
Interesting.
So then what we find out is Mr. White has planted a whole bunch of informants around the city, including that Native American guy.
Whoa.
And he's like, all right, we're going to talk about what we found. What is all these different things we've been talking about? Because basically he's been really obvious with a couple of his men, but a lot of other people have just been integrating with the community.
Sure.
Moving
Subtly,
in.
yeah.
Mhm. And talks to all of them. He's basically just like, yeah, this one old man says he saw Byron Burkhart kill someone. They took Anna, got her super drunk, and on dope and whiskey, and drove off with her like on purpose. And also there was this guy named Kelsey Morrison. Did you see him at all?
Kelsey's the guy that was talking about that has like the strong jaw, and he's like, "Hey, I'm marrying this person."
Oh yeah.
At the very beginning.
So Kelsey was apparently talking to what he thought was an insurance man, I believe. And he's like, yeah, he basically runs dope and whiskey. And he asked the insurance man, who I think was a plant from the FBI. Not 100% sure. A little confusing what's going on to me.
Sure.
All these people.
It's difficult to know.
So he basically asked like, hey, so these children of the Native American woman I love, if I adopt them and she dies, do I get their estate or do the Osage get their estate? And he's like, it sounds like
You're planning on doing something.
It sounds like you're gonna. Oh no, he's gonna adopt the kids of the dead lady and adopt the kids themselves and then try to kill them basally.
Oh my god!
And the guy's like, that's what it sounds like you're saying, right? And he's like, well, I'm not gonna do it if it doesn't work.
Holy shit!
If it's not legal and I don't get my money, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so monstrous.
I know. Anyway, so then the people are all the FBI agents are all talking, and they're like, so no one's gonna convict anyone? He was like, no, you got a better chance of convicting someone kicking a dog than killing an Indian. So it's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
And the movie, halfway through, you see a dead dog.
Oh yeah, that's true. And no one cared.
Nobody cared.
No one cared. And also they see a big fire, and the insurance guy's like, the house is on fire, and I just sold that guy a $30,000 insurance policy. And it's like,
Jesus Christ.
Scams all over here. It's just
Wasting no time.
crime ridden.
Yeah.
So then Ernest starts putting whiskey, that same stuff that he was putting in Mollie's drugs
Yeah.
or insulin, starts putting his own whiskey.
Oh, he's
And
poisoning himself.
He's poisoning himself while giving Mollie something. He also kind of just wants to see how it feels, bro. Like, is it actually helping her? Because clearly she's doing worse.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
He's just like, I want to slow her down. I want to kill her.
Yeah.
But then she rolls over to him while he's like giving her a shot and just says, "You're next." Like, or like kind of like weird, dreary state.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?" And then he gets confronted by the FBI and arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And he just keeps saying, "My wife's been real sick. My wife's real sick." So he gets interrogated, and he at this point is also getting loopy because he took the drugs.
He took the drugs, yeah.
And he's like, "We need to talk about the murders of Ann Smith." And he's like, "I don't know. I'm doing pretty fucking poorly right now. I need to sit down." He was like, were you alone when you put explosives around the house?" He's like, "Explosives? What are you talking about?" "All right, well, let's talk about Blackie Thompson. Did you let him borrow his car? Did you let him borrow your car?" And he's like, "Yeah, I let him borrow a car. Why was that?" He's like, I don't know. I just did." And he's like, "You let someone borrow your car without knowing why?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I do that, you know." Comes around through the door and he's like, "Well, we got a different perspective." And through the door comes Blackie, who he thought might have been dead. And he's like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "Can I have some alone time to talk to Blackie?" He's like, "Yeah." So they luckily give him some alone time.
Wow,
he's like,
shocking.
I know.
This is early days of FBI.
Yeah, that's very true. They're like, "I don't know what to do. Sure, I guess." And so they talk. He's like, "So why are you telling everyone?" He's like, "I'm telling everyone." He said, "Fuck these guys. I hate this crew. They suck. I'm telling the FBI everything."
Yeah.
He's like, "Also, you only gave me $1.50 when I came out of prison." He's like, "I gave you a 20." He's like, "No, I didn't. No, you didn't." He's like, "I definitely gave you a 20." Anyway, and Blackie's like, "You better off telling them what you know, Blackie. This they got everything. They know so much."
Yeah.
And you know, Ernest is like, "No, King's got a whole plan." And then Blackie says, "Yeah, I'm sitting here because of the plan."
Yeah.
Clearly, it's not working.
Yeah.
Not
for them, at
not
least.
for them at least. Not for the people on the lower end.
Yeah.
So, actually, Mollie's hallucinating a bit, and she sees Mr. King open the door to find Mollie, and she's like, "Are you real?" And I don't know. I don't know if that whole sequence is real or there because she's just sitting there alone. Mr. White is like, "Hey, Ernest." Mr. White is like, "Hey, Ernest, you know, King is a bad dude. All he's doing is taking advantage of you. You know that, right? Do you know who killed Henry Roland?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Yeah.
Maybe he'll testify. So then the native, let's see,
Informant?
the native FBI guy shows up and says, "Oh, you know something about Henry Roan's murder?" He's like, "Oh, this other guy." No, he says, "Go talk to this guy about Henry Roan's murder."
Got it.
And they bring him in, and he's like, "I'm not gonna say shit." And then someone else is like, "Wait, you're gonna pin it on me? This is my fault?" Because Ernest pointed them towards her. He's like, "Well, get your pencils on. I don't want to fucking narc on everyone."
Yeah.
So, the FBI takes Mollie from
The house,
because they heard about like she's super sick and she's like on death's door. She's doing terrible, but she gets taken to a hospital, and Ernest is like, "I want protection. I want protection from my uncle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Really?
I'm gonna do it. I want protection from him." And you know, his uncle King, cool as a cucumber, is like, "I'm here, Sheriff. I'm going to turn myself in. You can handcuff me. It's okay." And he's like, "Oh, we don't need to do all that. I'm sure you... What did you do?" He's like, "Well, these people over here are saying I kill people." He's like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous." But he turns himself in. And,
oh my God.
Yeah. So they take Ernest away. Mollie's getting resuscitated basically at the hospital.
Oh my God.
And then we got a lawyer played by John Lithgow interviewing Blackie, saying all sorts of crazy stuff like, "Oh, yeah, you know, King told me to take Ernest to Mexico and kill him. Like, he told me to just do it." But I was
really?
like, "I don't want to do that. I guess. I don't know.
Wow.
That's according to him."
Yeah.
Mollie's recovering at the hospital. Everything seems to be going hunky dory. Everything's doing well.
Things looking up.
Look it up for this fucking horrible shit.
Yeah.
So Ernest goes to the courthouse and everyone's there. He's going to testify. He looks scared as hell, and he sits down. And then none other than Brendan Fraser pops out and says, "I wish to confer privately with Mr. Burkhart." He's like, "What?" He's like, "He's my client." And
he's the lawyer?
He's the lawyer.
Oh, God.
And I thought you saw him in your half. It's kind of surprising.
I've never seen him in my half.
That's so wild. Because
I knew he was in this movie. I didn't know who he was going to be.
Ernest is like, the judge is like, "Do you know this guy?" He's like, I don't I mean, I'm willing to
Is that
talk.
Brendan Fraser?
Yeah. I'm willing to talk to him, I guess. And the whole courtroom erupts in like, this is going to be, you know, a case of fraud, basically, because he's colluding with the, you know, the people he's testifying against. He's going to collude with them. And he's like, no, you know, I'm going to adjourn it for the day. We'll see what happens next time. So Ernest goes, finally sees Mollie. Mollie's looking good. She's standing up. She walks up to him in the field. And she's like, I'm going to take you home. He's like, I'm so sorry for all this trouble. And he's like, well, you know, a bunch of people want to see you at King's tonight. So you're going to have to go over there. And he's like, all right. Ernest says, I'll go over there. So he meets everyone. And all these people are in this room with Mr. King. And he's like, you know all these people, right? Says the lawyer's there to kind of coach him. He's like, you know these people. This guy of this oil company and this guy of this oil company, they're all here.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, sounds like they're also in on this too, which is unsurprising, I suppose.
Not surprising, yeah.
And Brendan Fraser's like, you know, if you testify against your uncle, you realize this could be held against you the rest of your life. You know, like if you do this, you're basically gonna murder your uncle. You know, you don't want that, do you? What happened was these government men beat you and tortured you to get you to testify against them.
Yeah.
He's like, no, they're quite nice. They just took me out. He's like, no, they beat you and tortured you. And he's like, oh yeah, they did beat and torture me. These government men, they did do that.
Oh man.
And then he goes back home and Mollie's like, I had a dream. I held all your secrets and I knew them all. And she's basically like, tell me everything, dude.
Tell me what's going on.
He's just like, oh, it's, you know, real complicated, Mollie. It's, well, he says that.
It's just like, where do I even begin?
Well, he says that. He says it's real hard for an Osage to comprehend. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, okay.
All right, cool.
And I'm like, I don't know. You seem more dumb than she seems
think
really smart.
I think it's hard for
she
you
seems
to comprehend.
Smart, and he's pretty dumb. He says, but I gotta tell the real truth. You know, those government men, they beat me and they tortured me, but I gotta protect my uncle. And she's like, when will you come back? And he's like, oh, a couple of days. I'm gonna go out. So he goes out there, and the FBI, Mr. White's like, are you gonna testify for us? He's like, nope.
God damn
and then
it.
they arrest him for the murder of Rita and Bill Smith. So they're interviewing Kelsey about how he killed Anna Brown. He says, oh yeah, I just went up in the back and shot her. He says, so you went out to this place, you took her, and you shot her in the back of the head, and you went back later to that same canyon? He's like, yeah, well, I'll be honest, it's a good place to party and drink. So I can't give that up. So he went back. And he's like, who else helped? He's like, well, Byron is there, and he, helped and lifted her up. And I didn't know who this guy was. Byron was, really.
Right.
And now they just show a scene of what actually happened, which is Byron just holds her up, and she's like, are you guys going to kill me? And then he holds her up. He's like, no, I was okay. And then just pops her in the back of the head.
Jeez.
Just like nothing.
Yeah.
She dies. And then Mollie starts crying over. I'm confused because this is a flashback. And then it cuts to Mollie crying over a dead child. I was like, is this a flashback? Like, did I miss this too? No. This is the child we mentioned earlier with the whooping cough.
Oh.
She also died. So Mollie just had the fucking run of it, man.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So
I need a hugger.
I know, right?
Jeez.
She's killing it, by the way. Just always like all this emotion and stuff. Like while being like every time she's holding steady with her emotions, you can tell there's like a fire brewing beside her.
Right.
So
mix of anger and sadness.
Yeah. So Mr. White shows up to
Mr. White.
What's his face?
Ernest. Jesse.
Ernest.
Oh,
no,
okay.
not Jesse. No.
Okay.
Which is funny because he was also in Breaking Bad. But anyway, so he goes up to Ernest and is like, hey, I want to let you know, I'm sorry, but one of your child died. He's like, which one? He's like, I don't know. Was one of your child have like
one of them?
I don't know. He didn't get the news. It's just like someone was sick with the lungs. Like, oh no, it was Annie. Annie starts getting pissed. He's like, took my fucking baby. I'm so upset. He starts yelling and screaming in this jail cell. And this happens to be the same jail cell with like that King is sharing. So King's like, hey man, little Anna's with the Lord's son, like it's all okay. And he's like, they took her. And he's allowed to go to the funeral. He goes to the funeral and he comes back to the jail and he says, King, she's like, how's the funeral? He's like, everyone was miserable. Everyone was so sad. It was a terrible funeral.
Yeah. It wasn't a fun funeral.
It was not. It was awful.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I got to take care of 2 kids and Mollie. So now I'm going to testify. I'm going to testify. I don't care.
Yeah.
And he says, did they give you a deal? says King. He's like, yeah. He's like, they're not going to hold it to you. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
The family's going to break up after this. Is that what you want? And he's like, I don't know. I don't care. He's like, the Osage know who gave them the streets and the hospitals. They're not going to stand by you. Mm-hmm. They're not going to stand by you with this testimony if you blame me. There's going to be a public outcry for a while, and then people will forget.
Oof.
Don't do something you'll regret.
Yeah.
I don't want you near... And he just goes, I don't want you near my family anymore. And he leaves.
Nice.
And so they interview him, I believe. And hold on, I'm trying to figure out exactly how this went down. Because there's a lot of people popping up.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. So they're interviewing him. He's like, did you tell that multiple people work on this job? Did he want you to blow up Rita and Bill to get their money? And he's like, yes, he did. He did ask me for that. That guy right there. Mm-hmm. And mentioned about how Mollie is related. Rita's sister was killed. Anna was also her sister. Her whole entire family is dead. And he's like, if your wife died, who would get her oil money? And he's like, well, me and my family.
Yeah.
Me and my kids. And he's like, did your uncle provide you with the plan to marry her and benefit this? He's like, no. I married my wife because I loved her, not because my uncle told me to. I picked her up in my cab, and it wasn't because my uncle told me to. So I wanted to confirm, is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is. I guess it is true. I think he'd been told about the general idea that there's Native women out there.
You just go pick them up, but he wasn't
But he wasn't told Mollie specific. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until after he had already picked her up originally. Although I would say that it's clear that King is I mean, you know Mollie? Do you know who Mollie is? I would recommend marrying her. So he did give him the idea of marrying her would be financially viable, but I don't know. I still think it's a fucking stupid thing to do. To not say that he was the one that told me to do it,
I mean, but he also wants to be I didn't do this just for I didn't actually want to marry you for the money. I actually still love you, babe. I still love you.
I love you, baby. Even
so
though I killed all your sisters.
He talks to Mollie privately. And he's like, hey, how are the kids? Are they doing okay? She's like, they're fine. He's like, I did all this for our family, right? I did all this. And it's just she's so tired of his bullshit.
Yeah, it's no, you didn't.
And she asked, what did you give me? He's like, what are you talking about? What did you give me in the insulin? Mm-hmm. And so, she caught on. Mm-hmm.
She knew.
Because, he made a whole bullshit thing. It was like, see, the insulin's working. You got to get real bad before you get real good. I told you it would happen. And she's just he just says, it's just insulin. She just leaves. She doesn't say a damn thing. She just walks out the door. Walks out the door. And then the movie shifts. That's the final scene of what I would say this movie is.
Okay.
And now we're cut
I've
to...
heard the ending of this movie is fucking incredible. So I'm so excited.
Well, I almost feel like I should just put this whole thing in the end for the audience, because it is a audio play of a retelling put on by... sponsored by Lucky Strike cigarettes. It's an audio play, dramatized basically, with the whole Foley and everything and the multiple actors.
Right.
Put on by True Crime Stories, sponsored by J. Edgar Hoover, of the Osage County Indian murders. And it has the narrator up there. He comes up and says,
the doctors, the Shawn brothers, were never pursued by the legal system for having certainly helped poison Mollie. Ernest's brother, Byron Burkhart, was tried as an accomplice to Anna's murder. Kelsey Morrison said at his trial,
Byron got her drunk, and I did the rest.
Byron was released after a hung jury. William Hale, the ringleader of the deadly plots, was found guilty and sent to Leavenworth for life. He would write letters back home to his Osage friends.
Dear friends, how are y'all? I never had better friends in my life than the Osages, and I was a true friend to them. I had rather live at Gray Horse than any place on earth. I will be back with you before many moons. How is my friend Da Kahike? Your true friend, W.K. Hale.
Hale was released in 1947. The parole board cited his record as a good prisoner for his early release, but not everybody was happy.
This man, he is being released because he paid off politicians, and nobody cares about the Osage lives.
Hale was not supposed to set foot in Oklahoma again. but according to relatives, he often visited them.
What do you want for lunch, William?
If only that damn thickhead Ernest had kept his fool trap shut, we'd be in clover today.
William Hale died in an Arizona nursing home. He lived to 87 years. Ernest Burkhart was sentenced to life imprisonment at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary.
Aren't you the one who tried to kill his Indian wife for the oil money?
Years later, he was granted a pardon for his crimes and once again moved back to Osage County, where he lived out his days with Byron in a trailer park north of the city.
Pass me a beer, brother.
Got a lot from my Lucky Strike?
After Mollie divorced Ernest, she lived with her new husband, John Cobb, on the reservation. She died of diabetes on June 16, 1937. Her obituary in the local paper said simply,
And then out pops Mr. motherfucking Martin Scorsese to read the obit.
Wait, what? Really?
Yep.
Martin Scorsese?
Martin Scorsese pops out and says,
Mrs. Mollie Cobb, 50 years of age, passed away at 11 o'clock Wednesday night at her home. She was a full-blood Osage. She was buried in the old cemetery in Gray Horse beside her father, her mother, her sisters, and her daughter. There was no mention of the murders.
and then it ends with a beautiful shot of this close-up of the drums and the Osage tribe just banging the drum and celebrating in a circle, and the shot just goes up and up and up and up, and you see like a whole crowd of people in a circle just doing their chanting and having a good time, doing their rituals, and then the movie ends. And it was good. And I saw it and it was good. The last part was interesting, and I was reading about like why they kind of chose that, and it's because my theory is because the book was kind of, it talked about like a whodunit, like back in the day, and then it fast forwarded to like where the journalist was who was writing the book in the modern day, and they kind of did the same thing. This was set kind of in like a 50s style play, or like maybe a little bit later 60s, radio drama.
Right.
And so it kind of connects that connective tissue with kind of like bringing in the modern of like, we need to not forget these types of stories as people. We need to remember the horrors that we do, which is something that American society really does not do. We always try to gloss over our history, especially history is taught to children of rah, let's go America. If there's something bad happened, it's a paragraph maybe.
Right.
If that, or if we don't even,
or
if mentioned at all. We don't even reflect on it. We don't reflect on the horrors that we've done and how we can learn from them. We're just kind of like, we're perfect. Why do we need to learn anything?
Ignore critical race theory.
Exactly. Yeah. That sort of same shit.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, great fucking message.
Jesus
great fucking,
Christ.
Great movie. Great movie, man.
It's like, this is such a good example of like making art that has like a meaning and a message while also just being good art as well. Like, it's just a well-made film. Love how it's shot. Love how it's edited. I don't know, man. This movie fucking rocks. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess we have to wait till the very end to compare all the other movies. But if we're just talking about the ones we saw so far, it's like this movie, a golf, and Maestro.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
And
with
Maestro's
that
not a bad movie, but
it's not a bad movie, but
it's
not on the same level. Not even close. It's just one of those things where you're like, damn, Scorsese, you still got it,
fucking
dude.
Killing it, man.
And like, I was reading more about like why they decided to change from the police procedural vibe, and he's just like, well, look, Scorsese says this, like, the FBI agents, they come in from Washington, and the moment they get off the train, the moment they enter that town, you look around, you see Bob DeNeiro and you're like, I know who did it. You know who fucking did the thing. The audience is way ahead of us. That's not an interesting story.
Yeah.
So in the book, it works. And also, by the way, a police procedural, I can't do. I'll watch it, but I can't make a movie like that.
Right.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do the plot. So I just made this.
It's like, right. It's the right move.
Yeah.
Because also, I feel like if you do a police procedural, I feel like it also this is the thing. I know there's been a lot of said like, oh, this movie's so fucking long. It's like, I mean, this podcast is going to be very
extremely long.
Yes. But it's like, you need that because you need to be able to understand these people. Like, you know, like these are real human beings that this
and not just the
affected,
people,
you know?
but the dynamics between
Yeah,
the
the
people, which is very
context of it all.
important. The context between how the Osage people, and not even just that, but between like the fact that like Bill and then is also fighting with King, and you know they kind of have this war
This
over
thing
this
going on.
quote
And how-
unquote resource.
And where
it's
does
just
Ernest
like,
fall into this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And how he feels, and that's kind of a whole mystery. And it's really smart of them to focus on him and Mollie's relationship, as she is like probably the only one who actually survived basically these massacres.
Yeah, exactly.
Along with her husband, who was clearly convicted. You know, and
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like that is an interesting story in itself. You know, you look at that and you're like, that is our movie right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like if you were to do some kind of police procedural, I feel like it would minimize it. Like you're not actually caring about these people.
No.
Like
And that's my biggest problem with police procedurals. That's my big thing with them is like, it feels so removed, you know, like the FBI comes in and I don't see the FBI as like, oh, wow, cool. I'm going to now try to figure it out. I look at them and I'm like, oh, please, thank God the saviors are here to like kind of fix this bullshit. And finally, someone's going to look it in. I'm looking at it from the people of the town's perspective at this point.
Right.
And
exactly.
he didn't even take that long to show up in my half, but it was already at that point. I was thinking that. And I think that's just a way more interesting way of looking at a film and seeing a tragedy like this unfold is, you know, you are on the side of the victims and you see how much this has torn apart the community.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, and the other thing too is like by the time the FBI show up, so much has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like so many other things that so much emotionally has affected us up until now that we would have lost and been done in like flashback and shit. Like, it absolutely minimizes the human damage that occurred. And I feel like by telling the story this way, you're able to really immerse yourself, not just in like the events, but in the emotion of what actually happened here, which is like the most important thing you can do with a movie like this.
Yeah.
You know,
especially something that's so tragic as this.
So tragic and also forgotten. Like
Scorsese's
right. This was I mean, it's true. Like before this movie came out, we didn't know.
Heard of it.
Never know this fucking shit happened. I mean, I expected something like this to occur.
Am I surprised? No.
Not at all.
But, you know.
But yeah, no, it's an important story to tell. I'm very happy it's being told and told properly.
Mm-hmm.
And being told in a right way. But yeah, I don't know. I love this movie.
Yeah,
this movie fucking rocks.
It was really good.
Not surprised.
I would actually, despite it being so long, I'd be like, yeah, I'll watch it again.
I want to watch the last half.
Yeah, the last half's really good.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the beginning sets it all up.
Me too. Guys, would you want to watch this movie? Email us at emailtheotherhalfpodcast.com.
I'll have a big party. We'll watch it.
I'd recommend it. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and on Discord. And if you want to listen to our previous Maestro episode, I'll tell you it's probably like half the length of this episode.
It's about half as much worthy of talking about.
Yeah. You can find it on any podcast you got. But while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read it on the show no matter what it says, even if it is a police procedural.
I won't read it. You can read that.
Yeah, I won't read it.
I'll tune it out.
Yeah. I'm going to read it and then you're like, what's the story behind this? How can I
make this
adjust
interesting,
this?
actually?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to make this a good movie. What was Scorsese say?
What would Scorsese do? He'd be like,
I don't know about this.
I don't know about this. I'm gonna put my fucking cameo in here somehow, though.
I was a blowfish in Chalkdale.
good night, everybody!